Freedom. Personal freedom is fundamental to who we are as Americans. There's nothing more important, nothing more sacred. That's been the work of my first term, to fight for our democracy. This shouldn't be a red or blue issue. To protect our rights, to make sure that everyone in this country is treated equally and that everyone is given a fair shot at making it. But you know, around the country, MAGA extremists are lining up to take on those bedrock freedoms, cutting Social Security that you've paid for your entire life while cutting taxes for the very wealthy, dictating what health care decisions women can make, banning books, and telling people who they can love, all while making it more difficult for you to be able to vote. When I ran for president 4 years ago, I said we're in a battle for the soul of America, and we still are. The question we're facing is whether in the years ahead we have more freedom or less freedom, more rights or fewer. I know what I want the answer to be, and I think you do too. This is not a time to be complacent. That's why I'm running for re-election. Because I know America. I know we're good and decent people. I know we're still a country that believes in honesty and respect and treating each other with dignity. That we're a nation where we give hate no safe harbor. We believe that everyone is equal, that everyone should be given a fair shot to succeed in this country. Thank you for choosing us. Every generation of Americans has faced a moment when they have to defend democracy. Stand up for our personal freedom. Stand up for the right to vote and our civil rights. And this is our moment. We, the people, will not decide. God love you. So if you're with me, go to joebiden.com and sign up. Let's finish this job. I know we can, because this is the United States of America. There's nothing, simply nothing we cannot do if we do it together.
It is official. Joe Biden is running for re-election in 2024, and he's running on an agenda of freedom, which is ironic since the idea of freedom used to be a Republican talking point, and yet when Republicans actually took power, their platform was entirely focused on taking that freedom away. The gap between what Republicans say when they're campaigning and what they do when they actually have power is so wide, you could fly a plane through it. Now, I know so much of the coverage surrounding politics right now is just about the horse race. It's about who's up in the polls, who's down, who said what about who, and so we're left with very little substance. Everyone can tell you what the latest poll said, but barely anyone knows what's actually going on to warrant any votes. So for anyone asking why vote for Joe Biden, what's he actually gotten done? Here's what we've seen in just the last 2 years. In only 2 years since Biden's been president, we got the American Rescue Plan, which led to the fastest recovery in modern American history after a recession. Keep in mind, it took 4 years to recover from the Great Recession. Thanks to the American Rescue Plan, our recovery took a year. In 2020, U.S. GDP contracted at 3.4%. In 2021, GDP grew at 5.7%. In 2020, the unemployment rate was 8.1%. In 2021, that unemployment rate was down to 5.4%. In 2020, 9.3 million American jobs were lost. In 2021, 6.7 million American jobs were created. That is what you get when you pass policies that benefit people from the bottom up, not the top down. Trickle down does not work. It hasn't worked since the 80s, and it hasn't worked during a single recovery. And if Republicans cared about anything other than helping their wealthy donors, they might actually be able to acknowledge that objective reality. Since Biden's been president, we got an infrastructure upgrade that was nothing more than a punchline in the last administration, and it'll include not just roads and bridges, but broadband even in rural communities that rarely, if ever, vote for Democrats. It's not about red versus blue, it is about helping everyone. Trump used it as a cheap applause line to get your votes before only bothering to give himself a tax cut. Biden actually got it done. Since Biden's been president, we got the first gun safety bill in 30 years, where states got funding for red flag laws, domestic abusers were blocked from owning guns, and background checks were expanded for 18 to 20-year-olds. You all know what schools are like now. Mass shooting drills, SWAT teams going classroom to classroom, and instead of doing anything meaningful, Republicans are helping prop up cottage industries selling bulletproof backpacks to kids. We need common sense gun safety reforms, we need an assault weapons ban, and we need it now. Joe Biden had the courage to call for automatic weapons to be banned, while Republicans watch these mass shootings unfold and immediately run to the defense of the gun. Since Biden's been president, we passed the Inflation Reduction Act, the single biggest investment to fight climate change in the history of the world. It includes tax credits for EVs and energy-efficient appliances. It includes funding for nationwide vehicle charging networks. On the healthcare front, it finally allows the government to negotiate lower drug prices. It caps out-of-pocket costs for seniors at $2,000 a month, and it caps insulin at $35 a month for Medicare recipients, which pressured insulin manufacturers to lower costs for all insulin in this country. And it's paid for by imposing a 15% corporate minimum tax onto billion-dollar companies that pay zero, and by funding the IRS so we can finally catch ultra-wealthy tax cheats who rely on little to no enforcement to be able to avoid paying their fair share. And of all of those things, you know what the GOP's sole priority is now? Stripping IRS enforcement so that tax cheats can get away with it again. Because lest you forget, their priority is their wealthy donors and no one else. Since Biden's been president, we've passed the CHIPS Act, which has led to an explosion in manufacturing jobs, 800,000 since Biden took office. Between CHIPS and the Inflation Reduction Act, just to give you a few examples, Toyota is investing $2.5 billion in manufacturing EV batteries in this country. First Solar is investing $1.2 billion in solar panels. Sparks is building an electric battery factory. Corning's investing $42.5 billion in fiber optic cables. LG and Honda are investing $4.4 billion in EV batteries. Micron's investing $40 billion in chips. Qualcomm's investing $4.2 billion in chips. Intel's investing $100 billion in chips. That is hundreds of thousands, if not millions of jobs right there. All jobs that were delayed when Republicans held power because their priority was propping up dirty energy. We lose jobs in coal every year, and yet because that industry is what pays Republicans, that's the only one they look out for. Every year we are not focusing on clean energy and renewables is another year of billions of dollars of investments lost and millions of jobs sacrificed to places like China, where Republicans fearmonger about. They will sacrifice every single one of those jobs because they're only looking out for their own. Since Biden's been president, we've passed the PACT Act, giving health care to sick veterans. We forgave student loan debt for 43 million borrowers, a move that Republicans immediately challenged in court. We pardoned all federal offenses for simple marijuana possession and started the process of removing cannabis from the list of Schedule I drugs like heroin. Passed legislation funding baby formula, which Republicans voted against. Passed legislation preventing price gouging at the pump, which Republicans voted against. Passed legislation codifying same-sex marriage, which Republicans voted against. Passed legislation protecting birth control, which Republicans voted against. Passed legislation codifying Roe, which Republicans voted against. They have attacked Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. They've attacked LGBT students. They've banned books, banned abortion. Hell, they are trying right now to sink the U.S. economy by refusing to lift the debt ceiling unless Democrats pass a budget that undoes all of their priorities. These people are not here to legislate, they are here to cause chaos. They don't want to fix things, they want to see them burn. The fact is that I'm not here to make some nebulous argument about what the Democrats will or won't do or what the Republicans will or won't do based on vibes. This is all based on what the parties have done. So don't listen to what these people say, watch what they do. So look, you may not be the biggest fan of Joe Biden, and that's your prerogative. But I think what's beyond debate is that this guy has been the most accomplished president since FDR. He knows how to win elections, and he knows how to pass an agenda. And in a day and age where both of those things are fleeting, we should consider ourselves beyond lucky to have a candidate who can do both. And finally, I'll end with this, a line from Joe Biden himself. Don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. The fact is that the choice in this election will be binary. You may not like it, again, that's fair, but that's the reality. And so this will be a choice not between some romanticized West Wing version of what you want in a candidate, but in two actual people as flawed as they may be. And it is nearly certain that those two people will be Joe Biden and Donald Trump. So before you write off Joe Biden because you didn't get everything you wanted during his first term or because of his age, both of which, by the way, are fair criticisms, think about the alternative. A criminal defendant whose agenda is to roll back civil rights and abortion rights and usher in some perverted form of Christo-fascist rule in the United States. That is the reality of what this election will look like. We've gotten a lot in just 2 years, and if Democrats turn out in 2024, we can do more, like codifying abortion, raising the minimum wage, passing the PRO Act, continuing to lower healthcare costs, and finally passing the For the People Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. We've gotten a small taste of what functional government can actually look like. Now is not the time to get complacent. It is time to fight harder than ever to make sure we continue to build on the progress of these last few years. Before you go, I need your help. I'm right on the cusp of hitting 2 million subscribers, so please help me grow this channel so the progressive media ecosystem grows by hitting the subscribe button right here on the screen. I also started a Spanish channel so we can finally start regaining some of that lost ground among Spanish speakers, so if you want to help support those efforts, you can hit that subscribe button. And finally, if you listen to podcasts and you want to support mine, you'll find a link to that on the screen as well. Thanks so much for watching.